We're back. Oh look, full start. We just tricked you. Thanks Zoom or OBS or Twitch. I actually saw a tweet this morning from a streamer saying that the London Twitch server is really off today. So hopefully that won't interrupt anything, and hopefully that will sort itself out. But welcome everybody to our 12-hour Warhammer Fantasy role-playing game. How is it going, everybody? Let's go around and remind ourselves who we are, who we're playing, what we're doing here today, and all that sort of stuff. So let's start with Askren. How are you, my friend?
I am doing quite alright. Quite tired, but that's to be expected. How are you guys?
Yeah, I think we're pretty good. James, how are you, my friend?
I'm very well. I'm alive and not hungover on a Saturday morning. So really, what more do you want?
Yeah, strong.
Yeah.
And finally, Skagev, how are you, my friend?
Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. Taking a shower, got some food and everything, so I'm ready to go.
Excellent. So, let's go around and find out who we're playing today. I'll tell you guys a bit about the game itself. So, Askren, who are you playing today?
Today I will be assuming the guise of Gustav Wagner, a human bounty hunter from the Nordland.
Nice. And James, what about you?
I am going to be playing Klaus Jäger, the warrior priest of Sigmar from Middenheim.
Strong. And finally, Skagev, what about you?
I'm gonna do a nice character by the name of Ortis Haugard, coming up from the Kislev region, a mercenary.
Okay then. What's up, ASMS? I turned down our music a little bit, so hopefully...
Oh, greatness is such a nice nickname for me. Thanks, ASMS.
So hopefully we've got some good levels. So today we are playing Warhammer Fantasy role-playing game, the 2nd edition, the good one. And we have here the book itself from back when I was but a wee lad, and this is what we'll be playing today, The Ashes of Middenheim. So a little bit about the game, which we will be unleashing yellow justice upon our foes. It seems like going to be having a lot of yellow justice with ASMS here already. But yeah, a bit about the game, a bit about the setting. If you don't know too much Warhammer lore, then you don't really need to. Think kind of generic fantasy and a lot of tropes in Warhammer you'll be very familiar with. So you've got orcs, you've got humans, you've got goblins, you've got rat people, you've got chaosy people who are like mutants and corrupted people. You've got all sorts. You've got elves, you've got knights. So if you don't know too much, ratmen, you don't really need to. You'll be very familiar with the setting itself. We're going to be in Middenheim today, the city, which is just recovering from a major attack by a chap named Archaon, who is a Lord of Chaos. He's also the kind of the Endbringer.
The Ever-Chosen.
The Ever-Chosen. He's got a bunch of crappy titles. He's very edgy.
He's a big bad dude.
And, but he is no longer in Middenheim, because Graf Boris Todbringer, of the Todbringers, he's off hunting down Archaon's forces, and so the city itself is left in the hands of the High Deputy Priest Leibniz, and he's kind of in charge of the city at this point. Middenheim itself being a big kind of sprawling empire city, so Midden obviously meaning kind of place where you put things that you don't need anymore, or shithole. So struck down by the wrath of Todd, indeed. That's the only way to go, really, for me. And that's about where we are starting today. You guys are actually going to be arriving in Middenheim. Some of you not for the first time, although others it might be for the very first time. So you have been, and the story sets itself. It's the first one they released after the Warhammer 2nd edition core book, and so the adventure actually picks up off the kind of initial introductory adventure that they put in the back of the core rulebooks, not every book, and so we are setting off with the precedent that you guys have been, for one reason or another, found one another in the Drakworld forest, which is nearby, I believe, to the southeast.
South and east.
South and east.
Big fucking forest.
Yeah. And you are traveling together, and whilst on your travels, you found this icon of Sigmar, which is but a small icon, about yay size. And you've got to bring it back to the correct authorities. The Temple of Sigmar. And no doubt, James, your character as a warrior priest would be all over the ship. Needs to be returned.
I'd probably not holding onto that quite tight.
Yeah.
Make sure no one sells it.
Yeah. It could be worth a fair penny. To the right seller, after all. You're got to return it to the Temple of Sigmar, because that's sort of the right thing to do, and as good Sigmarites, it's the right thing to do. But of course, Middenheim itself has got it's got a divide between religion. It's not just a fully Sigmarite city. It's also Ulrich has got a big influence. It's kind of
Verena and Shalia also.
Yeah, but we don't give a shit about them for the purposes of this story.
Based. No day.
No. It's Ulrich is a kind of big old wolfy, more kind of Nordic-inspired god, and Sigmar being the kind of Jesus kind of figure. And for the Emperor, and all that nonsense. So, as you guys are arriving, let's do a bit of kind of backstory. I mean, you guys would have met some beastmen in the Drakworld, because there are remnants of Archaon's Chaos forces around, and so kind of meeting beastmen, you might have run into like a very small band of them, because you guys are kind of weak as paper at this point. So, you might have thought of a few in the forest, and so you have had. It's also important to note that you want to report this sort of stuff to the kind of correct watch, the correct authorities, because it's important that they know where the patrolling forces of beastmen are. Maybe you've started a bigger band. So how do you guys feel about traveling with one another, I guess, is a question. Most likely through necessity at first, through this forest. But also, if you go to the Temple of Sigmar, there might be some reward involved in returning the icon back. So how do you guys feel about traveling with one another? How do you feel about one another?
Skaggoth.
Oh, me first.
First, yeah.
I don't really know. I guess my character is a little bit of a douche, a little bit of a veiny character. So hopefully we'll get that into the play too. Not that much so it will break the party, but it is always a nice that somebody is. And he kind of had taken some of the things that we've done to his own. And maybe if we haven't had an encounter and beat the encounter, whatever, he would be the one who said, "Yeah, that was me. I did it.
Gotcha.
I initiated it. Yeah, that's me."
Okay. So how would you as a warrior priest?
Yeah, I mean,
Klaus
is certainly he's having seen both these two in combat. I assume you both held your own. You weren't you didn't run away. So yeah, having seen that they've fighting against the forces of chaos, he's certainly not against them, and certainly from his past that we may discover some of later, he's not one to judge people for their misdeeds. So yeah, he's happy to travel with them, and probably is quite tries to impart some sage wisdom every now and again.
Okay. And
he's very old. He's 45, so he's got a lot.
Your character's name I've forgotten. If you could all write if you could change your Roll20 names to your character, that would actually help, so I can just glance over. But Askren, how was your guy whose name escapes me at this point? Began with a K, I think.
His name is Gustav Wagner.
Gustav. Okay.
Yes. Gustav is he's a little bit of a cynic. He originally came down to the south to seek his fortune. He's not a military man. He's a bounty hunter, so his profession by nature is hunting down deserters, people who have kind of earn the ire of military captains or other people who can pay, but that work is hard to come by now. So he is sort of more than happy to take up with anyone that he thinks can bring him profit and a little bit of a job security. But at the same time, he's had to fight for, I guess, cause before, and he will happily, not happily, but he will wield his crossbow and strike down his enemies, regardless of who they may be, as long as they will bring him his own ends in the future. So he doesn't mind these people. He'll travel with them as long as he needs to, though he doesn't really owe them any loyalty as far as he feels.
Okay. Cool. So that works out pretty well. So you guys are traveling together, and before we get into the session itself, I should remind you guys of a few things. If you haven't tweeted, you can retweet our tweet, and at 25 retweets, you guys get to decide something which happens in our game through viewer decision. So hit that retweet button, and you can throw some crazy shit at us. What else? If you haven't followed, do hit that follow button and join us. Also, thanks to iBeth, a crazy for following just as we started the stream. Welcome. You are a gentle lady and a scholar. So, I think that is about all. You can, of course, donate and change our game as per usual. Nat 20s and Nat 1s kind of translate in this game fairly well. And Wild Magic, of course, always works well in Warhammer. So,
Jesus.
Feel free to change up our game through.
I mean, Sigmar.
Sigmar, indeed, yeah. You heretic. Time to repent.
Purge the heretic.
Indeed. So, that's about where we find you guys. Is coming into the city of Middenheim, coming out of the Drakwild forest, and seeing the giant Midden, which is Middenheim. So let's get some visual descriptions of your characters. So, James, what does Klaus Jaeger look like as we see him?
So yeah, Klaus Jaeger he's quite a tall, very broad man. He's wearing the garb of Warrior Priest of Sigmar. So he's got his only leather armor with like a red tabard over it with the gold sigil of the twin-tailed comet with the hammer. Facially, he's very broken. He's got like the remnants of a broken nose. He's got a very recent deep scar going, like cutting his mouth clean open, that's been like crudely stitched back together. He's shaved completely bald, and he's kind of got very maybe like piercing beady eyes.
Okay.
And a big ass hammer.
Of course. Skagav, what about Ortiz?
Yeah, he has like a dark copper hair color, and somewhere here and there is starting to turn gray, and often combed backwards, and getting a little bit thinner each year that passes. Really dark brown hair, eyes that is a little bit empty and tired at the moment. He has a deep scar from like the forehead going down to the chest area from wizard. No,
you're a wizard, Ortiz.
No. It's from some sort of greater animal of sort. Yeah, that's about him. He's not really long or that. I think he's 180.
Okay.
5'11".
Getting that booty shot of Askren there.
Sorry, prop.
You want more? Donate.
You know where the live Jasmine stream is. So, Gustav Wagner, what does he look like?
Gustav is he's about 6 feet tall. He's kind of a little bit stockier. He's about 160. He has a long leather duster that covers his pitted leather chest plate, which he carries in a sling over his on his side, his crossbow, and he has a very wide brimmed hat that looks something like this.
The cosplay.
It is.
Wow.
It's just a very kind of a nice wide brimmed hat that covers his his face and his eyes. and he has a net like that's actually wrapped around one of his arms that he can kind of, he uses to bring back quarries. The only real distinguishing facial feature on his craggy kind of shattered face is a scar that runs kind of down the side of his face like that.
You all are horribly scarred. Maybe that's why you're traveling
Everyone
together.
is. Everyone.
We just, we've got to stick together.
Scarred.
Munters unite.
You don't know, they don't tell you this in the rulebook, but people in the Warhammer Fantasy universe are born with these facial
Born with
scars.
scars.
It's true.
They inherit them.
Yes. Okay then. So as we see these 3 scarred men walking out of the Dragweld, and maybe maybe Gustav, you've taken some like horns or like the heads of some beastmen to prove like you guys have found them and killed them for a reward. You enter and see Middenheim itself, this huge kind of sprawling city. And clearly, slightly different culture maybe to standard Empire stuff that you might have been in. So if you're in other areas, and certainly if, such as Kislev, this place looks very differently, and you can smell it from here. You can smell the kind of stench coming off the place and the sewer system as well. It's probably pretty open. People just throw their stuff in the street, and it kind of runs down into the sewers. So not very advanced in terms of that kind of technology, and just you're coming out of the forest, it just begins to kind of cloying kind of smell enters the back of your throat and your nostrils, and it's pretty nasty, even from here. You press on up to the walls, which are of course kind of broken down, partly being repaired at this point because they've just withstood a siege. And you can see from this point at the city, like there's a point where the city itself has been kind of like abandoned because there's like a huge crater with it, where clearly some kind of siege weaponry has landed, and the buildings themselves are kind of broken down a lot of the places. Clearly there's been like fires in the city recently which have just been put out, and are within the past like few weeks, maybe the past few months, because they just don't have the resources or the manpower to repair all of the kind of hovels around Middenheim. The guard force on the walls, they have the heraldry of the Todbringer, but for the most part, as you're kind of walking up to it's just a massive Todd. Bring the Todd. There's one guy sitting on his Todd. There's I feel like spending time with Josh has been bad for me in terms of...
It's just bad for everyone.
It's just been bad. Sounds like Essex. I know, right? Yeah. It's where I'm drawing my inspiration from, mainly, is the land of Essex, yeah.
I feel very at home in this.
It's like...
I haven't understood any joke in the last 5 minutes.
you won't. Get used to that.
Selling for 12 hours.
You're here with Brits and Europeans, so it's gonna be a tricky one for Brian. You see that the guard force themselves don't look particularly kind of well manned. Like the walls don't look like they're kind of at full force by any means. And you'd have known, Klaus, that the main forces are off hunting down Archaon's remaining forces, and that the Todbringer is out. Though you might have been away for like maybe a month or so in the Dragweld, maybe a few months. The nature of that trip, it could have been. It's completely up to you. It could have been like.
Yeah, I went out immediately up. Like it was a lot of the warrior priests of Sigmar would have gone immediately after the siege ended and just set out to fuck up some small bands of chaos, basically. And he would have certainly done that. He just set out and followed the tracks of chaos, beastmen, basically. Did what he could.
Cool. Sounds like zombie apocalypse, mutants, and everything on fire. Well, everything was recently on fire.
It's smouldering now.
Everything's kind of smouldering.
I assume it's raining.
Of course.
Because, why not?
We're in Middenheim.
It's grim. It's a kind of light rain. It's a kind of like horrible cold rain as well. It's just like on your face, pissing down in your face. It's really not fun. The grim darkness of present Essex, indeed.
There is only war.
There is only war in
Sounds like Detroit.
So, American jokes. But yeah, you're coming into the city, and you notice that there's not many soldiers up on these walls. There's maybe a few, all kind of the heraldry of the Todbringer. The gates are open because there's all people coming in and out. Traders trying to sell whatever they can to these kind of people who are kind of beleaguered and now don't have a home, for instance. People trying to get out of the city, just trying to get away from Middenheim and start a new life somewhere else. As you walk through the gates, I mean, there's no problem getting through these gates. You head on into the city proper, where the stench itself continues to worsen. You see the kind of initial buildings around here have been, for the most part, destroyed. Because this is like the initial place where the siege took place. And so the townhouses around here look very kind of battle scarred and hollowed out, used as kind of street warfare kind of stuff. There's still like remnants of barricades around the city as well, where they would have stopped streets and performed street fights, that sort of stuff. There are all sorts of people like beggars as you come into the street. There are just like hundreds of beggars. People kind of line the kind of sides of the streets, just begging for whatever they can, because these people don't have homes anymore. They look very sick as well. Clearly, sanitation in Middenheim is not at its finest.
They turned the one lake into a toilet and then realized it was their only drinking water, and you can fill in the gaps.
It's one of those. They fucked up, man. So you walk by all these kind of peasants. I mean, you would know where the Temple of Sigmar is, Klaus. You'd probably know several of the members there as well.
I named one of them.
Yeah, I've forgotten his name now. But let me go
I'll look it up on my email to you.
Yeah, I've got it here. His name is August Klein.
August Klein. August Small. Just a little August.
You would also know...
I guess as we walk into the city, I just turn to the other two and say, "Welcome to Middenheim." Like Altdorf, but even better. I smile, not very convincingly.
That's the nicest looking place I've seen on my trip so far.
And he says as he steps around the puddle of shit.
Yeah. You would also know that like one of your like kind of personal like father figure, or no, not father figure, but member of the church you know fairly well is Father Morton. You'd also know a Father Ranulph, who's a bit higher up the ranks. But yeah, all of these people would be interested in your return, and of course the return of an icon.
What does the icon look like?
It's the twin-tailed comet, the hammer, but it's almost like a brooch, but it doesn't have like a pin to put it on, so it's kind of like a.
So it's like an emblem.
Yeah, like an emblem. Yeah.
So the name it was Ranulph and Morton.
Ranulph and Morton. Yeah, and they're both elder priests, old dudes who aren't warrior priests.
They're not warrior priests. Cool. Just priesty priests.
Yeah.
They probably were warrior priests and are now old men.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, they once were. Now they've chilled out a little bit more. And August Klein is the kind of older guy, but he's still got the conviction to.
Yeah, he's about like slightly older than me. I think.
Okay, so you come through into Middenheim. Are you headed straight there? I mean, you know that there's a marketplace as well.
I don't have any money.
Yeah, you don't have any money. That's fine.
Now, did you say we're actually bringing in some beastman heads?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm assuming he's probably using his net as like a bag to just carry these heads over his shoulder in. So he's just like kind of dragging them through the if no Marcus. I got heads in the bag.
Heads to sell. Get your heads.
Gustav, what is your? I say we head straight to the Temple of Sigmar. They'll want to get this emblem back as quickly as they can, and there may be a reward in it for you, Gustav. For all of us.
Sure.
I give him a judging look, just very briefly, and then remember and catch myself and. Follow me. Trying to get caught up in any crowds. There's pickpockets like nobody's business.
Lead on, friend.
Cool. And I'll lead them through the Southwold Ostwald district to the Temple of Sigmar, which I think is one of the big ones in the northwest. Yeah, we're just walking along like a massive like open high street.
Yeah. So yeah, you're walking along these kind of places again. Whole loads of beggars around here as well. Very few kind of guards. Like a few guardsmen would walk by, like every few minutes, who appear to be just kind of watching stuff, and then kind of letting a lot of kind of minor street crime go on. So you kind of look down darker alleys, and you'd see someone getting mugged, like punched up, just for like a few like copper coins maybe. And then these people running off, and the guards aren't really doing anything about this at all, because they seem very kind of worn down themselves. They seem very kind of they've had enough of the kind of like whole war basically. So they're now put on, and of course the guards as well are mostly older as well that you spot. They seem to be the kind of older chaps who maybe aren't quite as fit as the younger men who have gone off to war, and these have just been kind of left behind. Maybe some of them have been were retired and have just had to been forced out of retirement in order to help the watch who don't have enough troops.
The dregs of the guard.
Pretty much, yeah. And you come up to the Temple of Sigmar after several minutes of walking through the city. It probably takes about an hour to get up this district. And it smells a little better here because there's a lot of incense around. As you kind of enter this sort of plaza, you see this big Temple of Sigmar before you, of course the twin-tailed common hammer of Sigmar before it. There's also, like, of course, like a big bell tower which tolls out every hour, and just around this plaza, basically, the sense of like sewage and human waste doesn't really go away. It's just kind of masked with other smells like incense.
It's like cheap air freshener.
Yeah, very, very cheap air freshener, which is pungent, which is good. It's a nicer smell, but it's just like a heady cocktail of incense and waste and sewage, and it's not particularly pleasant. It's probably quite sickly, actually, quite a sickly mix. And there are priests out here chanting. You know, there's probably tens of priests out here chanting and praying. The temple doors are, of course, open, and you can see within where people are praying. There are lots of sick people as well outside. Lots of beggars around the church, and there are a group of beggars kind of all around one priest who's kind of giving out food. So it seems like the Temple of Sigmar are into handing out food for these people, but at one point he just kind of gets overwhelmed by the amount of people looking for food, and he kind of heads back into the temple itself. You probably recognize him as like a minor acolyte or something. So yeah, the temple lies before you, a bunch of priests around and a bunch of beggars around as well.
Yeah, I just turned to them and say, now, try to mind your manners, gentlemen. And I would walk up the steps into the main entrance to the temple.
Gustav, well, when he gets to the doorway, he'll just kind of go and just push the brim of his hat back so it like falls back on his head, and it's just like hanging there by a leather cord around his neck.
Cool.
He knows you're not supposed to wear hats in churches. It's a rule or something.
Yeah, Ortiz kind of gives Gustav a little tap on the shoulder and almost whispering, "He meant you," and nods.
He kind of hefts the bag of heads and says, "I don't like these places. It's too much eating."
Okay then, so the group of you walk into, with some leveling degrees of comfort, enter into this cathedral, and into the temple itself. Again, there's it's the sort of thing where, you know, in films and stuff, there's always like nuns like singing out like loads of different like choirs and stuff like this, but there's no actual nuns to be seen. So you just like, if someone walks into a church and there's like music playing, there are actually like hundreds of people in here like and lots of different songs and Praise Sigmar and that sort of stuff is all going on, chanting, praying, incense burning, readings of, you know, passages from Sigmar's travels.
Tales of Sigmar and Barogan.
Indeed, yes. Much praising of the Emperor and praising Sigmar in these hard times, and talk about how Sigmar saved the city of Middenheim and all this. So there's lots of chatter in here. It's a very lively place. I mean, in these sorts of times, it's like a community hub, much more so than it is like nowadays for us. I mean, at least in England, you know, churches aren't so much kind of everyone goes down to church to meet up and talk. That's
why we have pubs.
Exactly, that's why we have pubs and where alcohol is served. Yeah, so it's a bit like a pub in a sense, but you know, everyone's sober. So it's like your morning pub where no one's drinking. Everyone's talking, praying, and you know, seems to be kind of enjoying themselves. Everyone's kind of doing this. Can you give us an example of what the nuns are doing again? Maybe on a live jazz stream. Oh, there we go. That one's given away for free. So
Only $14.99 and you get the full video.
Oh wow. So he's a spoken like a true expert there, James.
I mean,
what can
let's move on.
Pub church is $14.99. 1 week only. So, yeah, what are you guys doing? You kind of enter this church, and they don't appear to. I mean, you'd know your way around here, Klaus. You can go ahead and kind of head to offices if you want to, kind of backstage.
Is August around anyway?
You don't see him, but that's probably because there's loads of people around here.
Yeah.
And he's more likely in like quiet contemplation in like the Sigmarite elite kind of prayer rooms that you have backstage. You know, like you let the plebs use these ones, but
yeah. Cool. I would I'd go and lead the others to seek out Ranulph Mortem and August if he's around, but preferably one of the two lectors, Ranulph or Mortem.
Okay. So yeah, you see Morton. He's actually kind of just finishing off like a what's the word? Like a piece. He's just talking to everyone. His congregation, and he's like, and that's why we must all remember to praise Sigmar. And everyone's like, praise Sigmar.
I call out praise Sigmar.
And then he looks over the three of you as he kind of finishes up, and everyone's like clapping and like praise Sigmar. And Ranulph kind of gets down. He's this elderly priest, probably like in his 80s, greying kind of beard. He's kind of got a hunch just due to his age. He's got like a walking stick that he uses to help counterbalance that. And he's kind of old, very wise eyes, and you'd know him for many kind of wise teachings throughout your younger days. And you know, maybe he was a bit stern before, but now you've come through, and he sees it.
Maybe Morton was the one that trained me back in the day.
That works.
Back when he was young enough to move.
Yeah, he broke his back. Yeah, so he kind of steps forward to us. Klaus, it's good to see you, my friend. Praise be Sigmar.
Praise Sigmar, and I give a bow. Perhaps we should talk privately. These are my companions, Gustav and Ortiz. I introduce them.
Where do you want these heads?
By Sigmar, you best come with me. He's kind of. It's like you just brought beastman heads into my church. What the hell are you doing?
I was told to bring them.
Yeah. He's like, right, come with me, and he starts kind of,
Is this not normal? Do you not normally do this in church?
No, not normally, but I'm sure it will be fine. He like heads sort of back into like kind of some back cloisters and some back kind of he fumbles with his keys, opens the lock to a kind of back set of corridors, which are like the kind of headquarters of the Sigmarite offices and stuff. So he heads you through.
The headquarters. That's where we keep the heads.
Indeed. Now we must quarter them. Yeah, he leads you through. Quick! He's kind of worried that people might be staring at the beastman heads, which they certainly are. I mean, people are. Praise be Sigmar. You know, just like
so everyone says praise Sigmar.
Praise Sigmar.
That's all they know how to say.
By the Emperor.
I like poorly voice acted NPCs that just have one line.
They've got the same line, yeah.
Praise Sigmar. Praise
They've got
Sigmar.
They've got like you look at them again, and there's like one same texture for their faces, and you're like, hang on, devs, you pieces of shit. So yeah, you
Gabe.
Gabe, please. You head back into his back office, if you know what I mean, and you opens up a kind of into this endless office room. Very simple, very modest, very kind of Spartan. For Sparta. And he just he's got an old kind of wicker chair which he kind of sits down in. He says, "It's good to see you back, Klaus. How are your travels?"
Interesting. We encountered, as you can tell, many beastmen, and the three of us have recovered an artifact. And I pull it. I ruffle into my pocket, and I pull out the emblem, and I place it on his desk in front of him.
He like picks it up, starts looking. That is amazing. Man, you see that filigree there? That's dwarven. I'll bet you anything. And the picture itself. Well, that's hand-drawn. It could have been drawn from life. It's incredible. This must be one of the eldest icons Sigmar I've ever seen. Where did you find this?
Where did we? Was it on the dead beastmen?
Yeah, say on one of the dead beastmen. We found this.
It was a band of beastmen were carrying it. Perhaps they looted it from one of the village chapels.
Why, Sigmar, that's a great. Well, thank you, boy. Very well done. My friends. Well,
My companions too. I could not have faced them alone.
Yeah, in that regard, Ortiz kind of leans in with the hand on the table. Yeah, so how much in crowns are we talking about here?
well, yes, of course. I mean, and he kind of goes outside, kind of knocks on the door, shouts the name of one of the acolytes. Comes back. He sends him off. Acolyte returns a few moments later, and he hands you this kind of little coin purse. It says 25 gold pieces here. These are today's collections for each of you. So take this. This is incredible. The church will be most pleased.
As he hands Klaus his, Klaus just takes it and then just passes it back to the acolyte.
Cool. You kind of.
And then when he's kind of giving it midway, Ortiz' hand kind of grasp the purse. And yeah.
If you tried to take it, I'd probably just
No,
move my
not
hand
take.
back out the way and then give it to the acolyte again. I'm just trying to it's probably like a little moment where we're like, and I pass it round to the acolyte.
More like he's saying that goes for me too.
Yeah, no. Unless you like repeatedly try and take it, I'll probably like dodge out of the way and give it back to the acolyte. Let's see. Now orders. That's 25 gold crowns is more than enough, and there are people in this city that need it far more than we do.
Well, then they can kill the beastmen.
Let us remember that Sigmar was not as kind to all of them. Many of them are not warriors.
And Father Morton nods sagely and says, the temple thanks you, my child. You might want to see about those beast heads with the watch. We have no bounty on them here at the church, but I'm sure Commander...
Who's acting commander now?
Commander
Morton.
Schutzman, I believe. Yes, Schutzman is his name.
Ah, he was the second in command, wasn't he?
I don't know. I can't say I follow the watch's hierarchy too closely, but perhaps so.
Lector Morton, before we head on our way back, would I be able to take a few things from the armory? My supplies are rather low.
As are ours, but I'm sure we could find something for you. What is it you're looking for? And he kind of come with me.
Oh yeah, I'll send you it off screen because no one gives a shit.
So we'll say that. Yeah, for the you kind of head down to the armory, grab something, head back out, and he says, "Well, I can only thank you again, my friends, and wish you the best of luck in your travels, and in in whatever work you have here in Middenheim. Please do stop by the temple any time, and we'll be happy to give you a consultation at any of your religious endeavors.
I shall try to tend to their needs as best I can, Lector Mortem, although Sigmar does love a struggle, and I give him a just a little nod.
Yeah, he nods and says, yes, well, the followers of Ulrich here in Middenheim are very devout, and so we have a hard enough time getting loyal Sigmarites around here, so see if you can't convert these two.
Praise Sigmar. And I make the sign of the comet. They always say in the books, like he makes the sign of the comet and hammer. I don't know what that looks like. Sad is the best. No, Ulrich is the best.
I think it's Obsidian Hall kind of thing. Calm and I know.
Maybe.
Just look at the comet. Yeah, I sent you the thing, Will.
Cool. Yeah, he says, do you have any plans whilst you're in Middenheim, my friend?
Is there perhaps? Well, we might go see the watch captain. Perhaps they have some notices, some ads. But one could make some coin.
Oh, well, yes.
There's bound to be honest work that needs doing, Gustav.
One can hope.
Well, I must be off, but I've got another speech to make on the appropriateness of using Praise Sigmar.
Praise Sigmar.
Praise Sigmar. Comet and hammer.
We'll figure it out eventually.
No, it's gonna be the hammer and the comet.
Praise Sigmar. I like it. The idea is just and then
We have ruined one of the greatest fantasy universes of all that.
Praise Sigmar.
In less than an hour. He just gets the spoon out.
Oppa.
No, moving on. Yeah, and we leave without any nonsense.
Yep.
And yeah, I got a couple of bits from the army. I got a chain coif, which I've now put on, and I'm carrying a shield with the emblem of Sigmar on it.
I mean, it's just your regular clothes with just a chain coif on top of it, right?
I've got like leather jack on, so it's like fitted into the jack, so it doesn't look as silly as it could.
So we go out the church, me still carrying the bag of heads, and everyone just doing the same thing, just looking as we fly the other direction.
Come in.
Everyone's like, it's got peaceful.
As
Praise Sigmar.
Praise Sigmar.
Yeah.
Praise Sigmar. Always different voices as you're walking. Praise Sigmar.
You hear the same voice actor a couple times.
Yeah. Praise Sigmar. Praise Sigmar. Praise Sigmar. Hang on. So you head out of the temple. Only high class humor in the stream, as always, Lucian. You as you head out, you see these two members of the city watch, who are they've got like kind of halberds. They don't appear to be particularly kind of imposing or anything. There's two of them. They're kind of one of them fosters a smile. He's clearly like not in a good mood at all. He just kind of says, "Well, it's going to stop you guys. You're coming out, not with any real force." He kind of smiles and says, "Welcome to Middenheim. Commander Schutzmann would like to see you."
Of course, we were on our way to see the good commander now. Praise be to Sigmar. And I give them the sign as like a blessing to them.
Yeah.
Would you care to lead the way?
Yeah, and then he says like, some like classic like Ulrich phrase, which might be like, "By the will of Ulrich" or something like that.
I'll find one for you.
There's a whole thing of them in the book, right?
I'm sure there probably is. There's a whole.
There's a few slang bits that's like Ulrich's teeth being in the cold, but I don't know if there's one specific.
Ulrich's gums.
Ulrich's butt cheek. May Ulrich's butt cheek be firm with you. It's canon.
Okay.
Carrying on.
So... Ulrich's butt cheeks be clenched.
Ulrich the ever cleansed.
The will toned. So yeah, he kind of leads you off to this kind of grungy looking building. It's like a big townhouse, but it's also kind of in disrepair. And you're once again back into the full kind of midnight smells and sense of the city. And as you kind of walk into this townhouse, there's several kind of desks where people are kind of signing off for different warrants and stuff, or being arrested. And there's a kind of door and set of stairs leading down to where presumably there's some like cells. You can see some people in chains be kind of led down there for some very petty crimes. People are being arrested for like most things, like stealing a chicken, all the way up to like murdering someone in a street fight or something like that. And the
This is just like a converted townhouse, yeah.
Same penalty for both, by the way.
yeah, same penalty. Yeah. In fact, fun fact: ancient Greece, you could get you killed for stealing a chicken, but if you killed someone, you could just be like exiled for 10 years. Because only nobles killed people. Only poor people stole chickens, and so they could get killed, the plebs.
Wow.
But
So
only-
wait, does that
only
mean if you were
rich people
broke
killed.
and you killed someone, that
I think
makes
that's
you
how
a
it works.
noble?
Like,
Because only nobles kill people, so...
yeah, maybe so.
You should be a Greek lawyer.
Yeah, good, I have to ask Mitch about that, because he's our resident lawyer.
Greek
Well,
lawyer.
The law says the pressure from his ever clenching is how diamonds were made. Pretty much, yeah. I read that in the fluff. So in the fluff. So the guys lead you over to this table where one very kind of haggard-looking gent. He's kind of in his 50s, probably about 6'2". He's got his cropped hair, very military kind of cropped hair, and like everyone else, he's got some scars. One across his kind of face, like
Like everyone.
here, a scar like down here. His entire body is kind of made of scar tissue. And you haven't met anyone that isn't unscarred at this point.
Isn't
yeah.
unscarred.
Even the
Double-
children.
Double negative, Will. Be careful. Now.
And he's got his dark blue eyes, his grey cropped hair, and he kind of looks at you as he just finishes arresting someone else. And there's some chairs in which you can sit down in. He says, please sit.
Thank you. And I take a seat.
Before I say, do you want these?
He looks at the heads and he kind of grabs them from you, and he nods and he says, I'll give you a gold piece for each.
Well, as long as I don't have to carry them anymore.
So he flicks you 2 gold pieces or something, takes the heads from you, hands them off to someone else who takes them away, and then he
She
goes.
chucks them in a bin.
That guy goes outside and nails them to the townhouse building.
Does it go to the headroom?
He goes to the head room, head office, and it all goes down in the head office really. So they nail this stuff to the walls, and you see some of the blood's still dripping down the walls probably outside, and he says, my name is Commander Schutzmann, and you came from the Drakworld.
Yes,
Yeah.
you are correct.
So he starts writing something down on a piece of paper, and it says, so tell me about the Beastmen.
I look to the other two. Do either of them look like they're going to speak?
They were both beast and man. They fought viciously.
Yeah.
What would you like to know?
Numbers. You can make it. Doesn't really matter.
Small band. Most likely just a raiding party.
Or maybe a scout party.
Not any part of Archaon's main forces, certainly.
Good.
Thanks, Sigmar.
Yeah, Praise Sigmar. And he just like finishes writing something off, and says,
Finishes up with Praise Sigmar.
finishes up with Praise Sigmar.
That's just a stamp that they have.
Yeah, it's just a Praise Sigmar. Sigmar has praised this piece of document. And he says, "Oh, God. Thank you. What are your names?"
Gustav.
Stuff.
Klaus Jäger
Mm-hmm.
of the Temple of Sigmar. Well, if it's not obvious.
Just did you see the emblem? It's here, guys. Can you see it?
Right over here. And Ortiz kind of just nods and realizes that he's up next, and they're like, yeah, Ortiz. And nods.
Okay. Thank you. And just about as this happens, one of his guards comes along, hands him a note, which he just like opens up and reads. And he says, you, and he looks back at you, kind of appraising eye. You encountered, you went to meet Father Morton today, and you gave him some icon?
Yes, it was an emblem of Sigmar found in the Dracwall.
Well, it says here that Father Morton has just been found dead, and you're the last people to speak with him.
I reel from this because I've known this man from since I was at 12.
Yeah.
So yeah, what? How?
He says, it doesn't say, but apparently he has died under suspicious circumstances.
I kind of lean on the table. I say, "Your men told us you wished to see us. What exactly was your business?"
About the beastman, but this has just come in.
You cannot suspect us. I've known Lecter Mortem since I was but a lad. I owe him everything I have.
You can call me like is it gossip I think in this game? I'm gonna take a minute
it'd be a straight fellowship. Or it'd be charm, wouldn't it? It'd be charm in this because charm's basic.
Yeah, charm.
Charm's basic persuade.
Yeah.
Which I need to find if I've got because this character sheet is Satan, which I have got. So I've got it as a skill. I don't know if this character sheet has it correctly, so I'm just gonna roll. I'm just gonna click the roll button next to charm and hope for the best. One success. I rolled 15. That's quite a good roll.
It's very good. Yeah. And
Thank God for being suave.
Yeah, he says, no, it does not seem that you are the culprits. It seem most strange, rather obvious. But
let us investigate. I will do it for free. I'm sure my companions will require some payment, though. I turn to them and look sadly. I probably look at you with like pleading eyes, because
Ortiz is like nodding in the thought of getting payment.
Yeah. He says,
And looking at him with pleading eyes, he nods and goes, "No, payment. Yes."
He says, you will not be paid. You can clear your names if you want, but the watch does not have the resources to pay you for solving a murder. If you wish to clear your names, then you can do so. If not, we'll have to arrest you, I'm afraid.
Clear names of what? You just said we were not under suspicion.
No, listen, I don't believe that you did it, but I will have to arrest you just for figures.
In Middenheim, reason and law are not always so closely linked, especially in times such as these. If you two assist me with solving this murder, I will ensure that you're paid, either by myself or the temple.
Gustav clenches his fists visibly, he says, and he kind of leans on the table, he says, "Very well, I will do this, I will do your work for you."
He says, good. The watch is stretched thin as it is, and so investigating at the moment 1 in 3 crimes. So if you can do this one, then that would be good, but it is an elderly priest, so I don't have the resources to send men to what is most likely a natural death. So If you wish to go, then please do and report back to me what you find.
I stand up and say, "Thank you, Captain. Gentlemen, are you ready?"
Yeah.
I probably set off a jog back towards the Temple of Sigmar.
So yeah, you head back there, and you know, several minutes later, you guys kind of jogging back, and you know, there's currently quite a kind of ruckus around. You know, there's a lot of people around in kind of a bit of disarray. I mean, people aren't running everywhere, but there's clearly like a bit of commotion going on, you know, kind of these priests everywhere, you know, Praise Sigmar, and you know, woe to us, Father Morton, and as you kind of enter into the temple, you can push past these people pretty easily. You can quickly gain admission again to.
Yeah, I just push through whichever initiate is standing in the way.
Exactly. Yeah. So no, you're not allowed in here. Yeah. He gets. He talks shit, get hit, and
Basically, that's the first tenet of Sigmar.
first
Talk
time
shit.
Sigmar. Praise be Sigmar.
Praise Sigmar.
And you head back into.
Literally, that's pretty much what Sigmar is. To be fair, he's a warrior.
No. And yeah, you head back into the quarters that he was in, and you see him just kind of like sprawl down on the floor, just like falling down, and you know there were some like initiates on the door. Probably just...
No, he's in the main like chapel area.
Yeah, no, he's kind of back in his quarters, the room that he
Oh,
took you to before. So it's kind of like a private room where they're not letting other people in through. You know, he's like a beloved priest.
I'm gonna kind of put my hand up to the other two and walk over to the body and lean over it. And is that symbol still on his body? Is it in his possession?
So roll me just like a general.
There is a search skill.
Yeah,
which
roll me like the search.
I
like searching
have
this
that.
room, investigating it and stuff.
I'll have a look at the skills thing, see if.
Apparently, I'm not good at finding things.
Basic skills.
Killed in a chamber full of howling nuns and no witnesses. Sounds like a miracle. Praise Sigmar. Sounds like it must have been. So a 31. Sorry, a 46 rather is not a success. So you don't find anything in particular around here. But
There's
you
a
do notice.
perception skill, FYI. Just
Yeah.
it's done on intelligence.
You notice that there's no symbol.
What Ortiz would do is kind of look around in the room, trying to feel out
On Father Morton.
what if there is anything that is kind of out of what we went into, if a door is slightly opened or a window or whatever. So maybe use the perception to see something.
So yeah, roll me. Actually, it says search test. So roll me a search test.
No.
Off of intelligence.
No. Oh.
Wow.
Oh,
Ooh.
damn, son. How is your? Oh.
Impressive. So yeah, you just find these little scratch marks by the window, and the window is open.
Oh,
There's
shit.
kind of scratch marks by this window, and we'll say that Gustav, as you're kind of just searching over the body and stuff, you do find what appears to be some kind of dart in the back of this guy's neck.
Do you guys show? Do you point out the things that you find?
Well, I was gonna ask, is the dart the only obvious injury on him?
Yes, yeah.
Then I will kind of pull it out of his neck and hold it up. Just kind of look back at the other two.
I assume, given my background, I can put 2 and 2 together and work out Skaven from this, because there's no one else who uses weapons like that in Middenheim.
Yep, you'd be
and,
familiar with the fact that you've never seen like a dart used before, really.
And I kind of mumbles out, Gustav, have you seen claw marks like these before. And he pushes open the window a little bit more and points out the claw marks. Really,
I'll kind of toss the dart down on the table and stand up and look at the claw marks with them, just kind of running my fingers over them and say, "Not in my day, but
Skaven, gentlemen.
He kind of spits. He says, "I've heard the name of the horned rats."
Do the tracks continue, or is it just one scratch?
The tracks, if they would continue, would be out the windows. You'd have to kind of go out the temple or jump out the window to follow any tracks.
Yeah. I guess I say, Ortiz, are you able to, or Gustav, are you able to follow these tracks? I am no tracker, unfortunately. Though Sigmar does guide us. Praise Sigmar.
This is my survival skill is considerable.
Very well. And just before if he does follow them, just before I do anything else, I'm gonna just lean down, and I assume he's still got his hammer around his hammer of Sigmar around his neck. Cool. I take that and I put it on.
Nice. You also notice that just you're kind of like leaning down, that there's like a note like in his hand, which is kind of like scrunched up from like death, you know. When
rigor mortis.
Stuff.
I prize the note from him. Then I say, "Hold, there is a note," and I unfurl it. And what do I read or see?
Yeah, it's like you know, when you like trace something, it's kind of like that effect. You can't really read it very well. It's like he's written in triplicate, and he was writing on the page above, and it's kind of bled down into the page below.
Yeah.
And so you can't really make out very easily what it is. You could make me a challenging -10 perception test.
Is it? What language is it in?
It's in.
Because I can speak Reichspear and Classical. I don't know if that would make a difference to how easy it is to read.
No, it's just the whether or not you can make out the bleeding.
Perception.